Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show before the free show on a Monday.
On a Monday, he said for a second time. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the pre-show for the free show. I'm Greg. That's Ashley on a football Monday after a wild and woolly week one. And I would like to tell you about an adventure that I had since the last time we spoke. Because Matt Stepp and I got in the car, the Dave Campbell's Texas football truck, I should say, and drove ourselves out to Hamilton on Thursday evening. Mm-hmm. Hamilton, Texas, the county seat of Hamilton County.
They've got a great courthouse.
They have a great courthouse. They also have a great burger place.
Yeah.
I had my first Storms experience.
Nice.
The Winters Band was in there. We ate alongside the Winters Band. Had an excellent meal. Strong recommendation on Storms. We then went to the football game, because there was a football game there, Pickle, between the Winters Blizzards and the Frost Polar Bears. Now, I'm not here to tell you that I think that Winters or Frost are going to be. I am doubtful about their chances to make it to state. Okay. I'll just tell you.
That's fair.
Frost went 5-5 last year. Winters went 1-9. But they put on what ended up being one of the games of the week. Certainly the game of the night on Thursday night. With a 28-27 thriller as Winters wins the Ice Bowl, as they were calling it. But Frost was kicking a field goal to win it, like a 38-yard field goal to win it at the buzzer. It just sailed. It had the distance, just sailed right. It was a fantastic game. Great crowd.
It looked like it was a good crowd.
The Winters crowd. Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you that according to Google, that's a 2-hour drive. If you don't know where Winters is, it's north of Ballinger. If you don't know where Ballinger is, it's northwest of or northeast of San Angelo. It's a 2-hour drive, and they filled up their side. There were probably, and I know this is not going to sound like a ton but remember, this is 2 hours away. There were probably 500 people there. There were a lot of people there for Winters. And they put on a show. It was a fantastic game. The scene was excellent. The Cook and Field there in Hamilton is beautiful. Mm-hmm. Really, really nice. They sold shirts for the Ice Bowl. I got a shirt. I got you one.
Thank you.
I was like, I know a lady who would like this.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. But it was a fantastic game, a fantastic event. I will tell you this. It has been a minute since I have attended a high school football game in the wild with Matt Stepp. We'll go to state championships, right? But that's pretty contained. Mm-hmm. That's pretty what's the word I'm looking for? Structured, the way that it works. And he's also usually up in the booth most of the time. Yep. So, how do I want to put this? I'm somebody who's relatively well-known in Texas high school football circles. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. But, you're the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football for 10-plus years. People get to know you. You want to talk about a humbling experience.
Oh, yeah.
You walk around with Matt Stepp. Anytime you think that you're a big deal, just go to a high school football game with Matt Stepp.
Because you're not.
Where he could run for mayor of every stadium in the state and win. It's a real humbling experience there, because the number of people who came up to us and said, "Hey, can you take our picture?" and handed me the phone. More than one hand. Okay, more than one hand. It's a real humbling experience, but which is good. I needed it. But the Dave Campbell's Texas football truck was a big hit.
Oh yeah. People love big ticks.
We met.
Stepp called it the swag truck, and I was like,
"Nah, we gotta do better than that.
It's big Tex."
Big Tex.
Matthew also calls the vlog the video blog, and there is nothing that gets under my skin more than old man Stepp calling it the video blog.
Tough scene. We also met a TFT OG, a TFT regular. Lowell Good was there.
Yeah.
He rolled in and was just like, yeah, I'm just going to come watch some Thursday night football. So we got to shake his hand, got to see him, got to meet him in person. He's very mad at you for calling him Lowell Good.
I think I'm going to keep it up just for the bit.
Okay, well, I told him I would tell you.
As a TFT OG, he knows that bits are the entire purpose of this show. Mm-hmm. So, Lowell, it is.
Yeah. It's I've done my part. I told him that I would report that
I wouldn't be doing my part if I didn't stick with the bit.
I told him
I'm doing my journalistic duty.
I told him that I would do my part and tell him what's what, and report to you that you're pronouncing his name wrong. I've done my part. I can't control her, lol. You know that. Anyway, it was a great way to kick off Texas high school football season. You know what else is a great way to kick off Texas high school football season? TFT Monday. Hit the theme, Expo. Yes, y'all. From the new Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a program with content.
Let's go.
My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and TexasFootball.com. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us live at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or you're listening to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show on Labor Day. You think we're taking Labor Day off?
Our definition of Labor Day is to labor. Those other dulcet tones you hear belong to the executive producer of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. She is the Duchess of the Dorks, Miss 305. She's Ashley Pickle. Hi, friends. It feels good to have football stuff.
It feels good to have a normal Monday football show.
Yeah, it really does.
Like a recap show. Mm-hmm. So excited that you are spending a little bit of your holiday Monday with us. Today is Monday, September 2nd, 2024. 87 days until Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Keanu Reeves.
Oh, nice.
Who turned 60 today.
Man, he looks good for 60.
It's episode 1795. On today's show, folks, we're back.
We are so back.
Very back.
Never been more back.
It is a mammoth, beefy show.
I forgot how long it takes to set up for this show. And I went in here and I looked up and it was like 10:48 and I sprinted.
Oh, yeah. We got a big one. We're going to start Monday Morning Fallout, overreacting to the Texas high school football weekend. Then we're going to be joined by the head coach of the Arlington Sam Houston Texans. Coach Chris James will join us, and perhaps you're thinking, why would we talk with Arlington Sam Houston head coach Chris James? Well, all they did was snap a 26-game losing streak this past week, knocking off Irving Nimitz in style. We'll hear from Coach James coming up here. Then we're going to reveal exclusively the Week 2 Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press Texas High School Football State Rankings. Then we'll have the Dave Campbell's Texan Live Top 10 Plays of the Week presented by our friends at Body Armor. Right? Then This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers. Told you it's a big, beefy show, and we're going to round it all out with final thoughts. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about something I want to do with final thoughts, and I'm producing on the fly because I have not told Pickle about this.
The parentheses that said mailbag made sense in my brain.
If you have some, we recognize that because we're no longer doing a Friday show, we don't have Mailbag Friday, right? And so we want to make it up to you. So get your questions in the comments, and we'll pick 3 of them in final thoughts and answer those at the back half of the show. That sound good?
I like it.
It's also a way to keep you around. You see, what we're doing is we're lengthening the engagement here.
That's definitely producing on the fly.
I'm giving away the game. We are thrilled to have you with us. Do we have first 4 through the door?
We sure do. It was Lowell Good, Aaron Arbuckle, Tanner Solis, and Matt Stepp. But we'll go ahead and give it to Coach Terry Crawford instead.
By the way, Coach Terry Crawford, worse winning percentage than his son.
Yeah, correct.
It's a tough scene.
Son's at 100%.
Tough scene. Now ranking number 2. He gets a big piece of chicken on Sunday. All right, Pickle. Oh man, it's been a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I remember how to do this. Let's just see if I do it. Pickle, hit the air raid siren. It's time for Monday Morning Fallout. Monday Morning Fallout. When we overreact to the Texas high school football weekend, it's good to be back. Good to be back overreacting with you here on Texas football today. We'll start with the opening kick. Week 1 goes big. We knew going into week 1 of the 2024 Texas high school football season that it was going to be big. Every week 1 is big, right? But if you crunch the numbers, it was the biggest week 1 we've ever had. No. It was the biggest week we've ever had. 750 Texas high school football games scattered hither, scattered yon across the great state of Texas. The largest week of Texas high school football action ever, which is pretty remarkable.
That is cool.
That's a cool number. But I would also submit to you, Pickle, that we also had an enormous week as far as quality of games is concerned.
Absolutely.
And quality of matchups are concerned. Everywhere you looked across the state, there were huge games that we were really looking forward to. Whether it was in the 6-man ranks with Abbott and Oglesby and Jayton and Westbrook, whether it's in 6A with games like Katy and Dickinson, right? Whether it's in between Kilgore and Carthage, right? Columbus and Cuero. Everywhere you looked, there were games that were dripping with intrigue. Now, part of it, certainly, is that, like, you could roll out Pickle High School against Tepper High School, and it's been 250-something days, and we'll just lap it up. By the way, both of our high schools are, the Tepper High School and Pickle High School, not very good, is what I'm saying.
What?
We're figuring things out.
I don't like that.
But what I'm saying is, I think even considering all of the judging on the curve that we're going to be excited about any football, week 1 of the 2024 Texas high school football season delivered in a huge way. If you look at our rankings, which will be revealed here in just a few minutes here on Texas Football Today, you will see the chaos throughout the course of the rankings because there were massive games everywhere you looked and massive results. We'll talk about what it means throughout the course of the week, but overall, week 1 of the Texas high school football season, as big as the state of Texas deserves. Game of the week. This is hard to pick. I went with Kilgore 20, Carthage 15. So you could go a variety of different ways on this one. But this game, to me, it was my number 1 game going into the week, if you watch Thursday's TFT. And it lived up to the hype.
It definitely did.
It's a headline whenever Carthage loses. Like, that's just a headline. It is. They've established themselves. They're on that short list of teams that whenever they lose, it's news. But for Kilgore to go into Carthage, to button them up defensively, and to come up with big plays, this was a tight, low-scoring game into the fourth quarter, after which these two teams traded touchdowns in the final minutes, with Kilgore coming out on top. This is one of those games that I feel like both teams are going to feel pretty good about coming out of it. And for me, a pure East Texas slugfest between two teams that have legit chance of making it to the AT&T Stadium. A massive, massive game. Kilgore, the 4AD1 over the 4AD2 Carthage in a thriller. Kilgore and Carthage gets my pick for game of the week. Dude of the week. Galveston Balls Jonah Williams.
This guy.
This guy's
went off on Thursday.
Yeah.
Went off.
We don't hand out dude of the week very liberally. This guy. So Jonah Williams in Galveston Balls' win over Manville did a little bit of everything. 5 carries, 65 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Okay? 2 catches, 49 yards, 2 touchdowns, which means he did not get tackled when he caught the ball. He returned a kickoff for a touchdown.
The opening kickoff.
He blocked a PAT, and he had 6 tackles and 2 pass breakups. Galveston Ball's Jonah Williams, the Week 1 Dude of the Week. Stock up.
Stonks.
Lubbock Cooper.
Yeah, how about that?
How about the Pirates walking into Lovejoy on statewide TV on Valley Sports Southwest and ruining the Todd Dodge reunion tour? Like, a lot of the story going into this is like Todd Dodge returns to the sideline there at Lovejoy.
And when you hear Todd Dodge, you think, 16-0.
Yeah, exactly right.
Easy peasy.
But Chip Darden's ball club went in there, and I thought they played unafraid. I thought and in a lot of ways, I made this point on Scoreboard, I think they kind of out-dodgeballed Todd Dodge.
Yeah.
They had terrific balance to their offense. They were able to run the ball and throw the ball. Michael Deaver, their receiver.
He's a dude.
That rhymes. He could have been Dude of the Week. This guy was unbelievable, including returning a kickoff for a touchdown. Lubbock Cooper, I think, served notice to the state of Texas that out there on the South Plains, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. I was wildly impressed.
It felt like
what they did.
It felt like the crazy man in the fight mentality of, hey, we're going to hop on this bus. We're going to be on this bus for a whole lot of hours. So what is the point of going out there and not leaving it all out on the field? And they did exactly that.
Why do that? A terrific performance. The stock for them way up, I think, for Lubbock Cooper. Very, very impressive what they were able to do. Stock down, China Spring.
Yeah.
I'm not burying anybody in Week 1. We'll talk about that in a moment. I'm not burying anyone in Week 1. But they took on Franklin, a really good 3A team, but a 3A team nonetheless. And they lose pretty convincingly. I believe the final score was 46-30. I have this somewhere. You're listening to live coverage of me looking up what the final score was on that. But it was 46-30. Lost by multiple touchdowns. We knew that there was going to be a little bit of a change with Cash McCollum kind of stepping down. 46-30 was the final. Cash McCollum moving on. The offense, okay. But if that defense is not going to come along, then it doesn't really matter. And I understand Franklin's really good, and they run the slot T, and it's very dangerous to defend. They have Jaden Jackson. But for a team that we thought dropping down to 4A Division II was going to be a big help for them, the opening night result, to me, sent up a couple of red flags. I'm sure Tyler Beatty will get it sorted, but I was a little disappointed in what I saw from China Spring in their opener, and their stock is down in my eyes. Now it's time for Tepper's Play of the Week. We're going to have the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Texan Live Top 10 Plays of the Week coming up here in just a moment, presented by Body Armor. But this is Monday Morning Fallout, and I get to pick my own segment.
He called ISO.
And for this one, we're going to the Austin area, to Georgetown, where they pulled off one of the most remarkable plays I think I've ever seen. You'll see it twice. You'll see it in regular motion, and then I slowed it down for you. See if you can figure out what happens in this one. This is my play of the week from Georgetown. So the ball gets deflected and ends up landing on the back of the intended Georgetown receiver. After which, the other receiver is just like, oh, that ball's not on the ground.
I can pick that up.
Picks it up and runs it in for a touchdown.
What a heads up play.
That is a crazy play. But again, yeah, you're right. Heads up is the exact way to put it.
I mean, to be able to have that thought so quickly in the middle of all that chaos is incredibly impressive.
The wherewithal that he showed, absolutely spectacular, as Georgetown, their magic tag team touchdown, is my play of the week.
Do not stop until the whistle blows.
No, 100%. And by the way, good job by the officials not blowing the whistle.
Absolutely.
Good job by the Tasso officials there by letting that play breathe and recognizing it as well. So an unbelievable play for Georgetown. Now time for the return
of America's favorite segment.
One of America's most cherished segments. The Matt Stepp, he got that dog in him, player of the week.
And now, the Matt Stepp. He got that dog in him. Player of the week.
Hey y'all, Matt Stepp with Dave Campbell's Texas Football here at Melissa ISD's Kenny Deal Stadium, and I'm bringing you the Week 1 Matt Stepp, He Got That Dog in Him Award. And the winner of this week's Matt Stepp, He Got the Dog in Him Award winner is none other than Alvarado wide receiver Lance Sansom. In Alvarado's 48-21 win over Godley on Friday night, Lance had 118 yards receiving and not one, not two, not three, but 4 touchdown receptions on the night. Congrats to Lance. You, sir, have got that dog in you.
This has been the Matt Stepp, He Got That Dog in Him Player of the Week.
Thank you, Matt Stepp, for your courage, for identifying the player.
What was it? The chief
dog identification expert. You know, it's true. Lance Sampson, Alvarado wide receiver, this week's Matt Stepp. He got that dog in him, player of the week. My final shot here is a bad set of data. We are all really excited that Texas high school football is back. You're watching this show. You're probably excited too. It is also, I think, imperative to remember that not only is this only 1 week of data, in many ways, it is the worst week of data. Mm-hmm. Think about all of the things that go into week 1 that will not factor into the rest of the week or the rest of the year, right? Players get like cramping up as much as they did. We saw it all in every game. In every game.
It's
right?
hot.
Just the natural things that come along with week 1, not understanding like with play calls and false starts. The game that I went to on Thursday, Winters and Frost, you just saw it was all of these things come to light, all the week 1 things, which is having trouble getting the play call in, wrong number of guys on the field, silly pre-snap penalties,
there was
those types of things, not to mention cramping up blown assignments and the normal football things.
Mm-hmm. We saw, and we deemed it on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight, that this could be the year of special teams. I saw more special teams mess-ups than I think I have in the past 3 or 4 years. Just from a week 1 perspective, a lot of special team mishaps from many of the games that I kept my eyes on.
And so we're excited to have football back, but it's also important to remember that there is more data coming. And I think jumping to conclusions off of 1 week is maybe not the wisest thing. If your team won, don't apologize for it. Put it in the win column, stack it up, and move forward. If your team lost, figure it out. Plenty of football to play. Nothing's been decided yet. And a lot of growth can happen. Think about how many teams we talk about in Arlington talking about how bad they looked in the early season and then how good they looked then. Gilmer, for example, comes to mind. Gilmer in the early season last year did not look good, especially defensively. Mm-hmm. How'd that season end for them? Right. I would say pretty darn well, right? South Oak Cliff played a murderer's row of non-district schedule. They ended up at AT&T Stadium, right? I believe P&G, did they lose their opener last year?
I believe so.
I think they lost their opener. I don't think they would trade how 2023 went for them. Mm-mm. Point is, we're all excited about football, but it's just 1 week, and we need to wait for more data, especially data that I think better serves our purposes. That's my final shot, and that is Monday Morning Fallout. We are Texas Football Today. We're here twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, here on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Coming up here in just a moment, what's it like to break a 26-game losing streak? We'll ask Arlington Sam Houston head coach Chris James just that, but first, a word from these goods and services.
Hot days call for cold coffee. So grab great tasting community coffee, make your favorite cold beverage, and get your chill on all season long. Family owned since 1919, Community Coffee has spent 5 generations roasting blends right here in the USA. Shop now or find it near you at communitycoffee.com.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, even at home. We provide compassionate, caring support virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here.
Hey DFW residents, get your grocery essentials in minutes, not hours or days, with Wing Drone Delivery. Forget about last-minute trips to the store when you need things like cereal for breakfast before school, medicine for a cold, or snacks for a movie night. Wing's drones get you quick, no-contact delivery in as fast as 15 minutes. Say goodbye to last-minute grocery runs and say hello to more of your valuable time. Sign up today.
Back here on Texas Football Today, it is the end of week one. We're wrapping up week one of the Texas high school football season. A lot of winners across the state, perhaps none bigger than what happened Friday night in Arlington. Pickle, let's go to the hotline. We are pleased to be joined by the head coach of the 1-0 Arlington Sam Houston Texans. We're joined by Coach Chris James. Coach, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having us on.
We are thrilled to have you on because today's a Victory Monday in Arlington at Sam Houston High School. Haven't had one of those in quite a minute. What is the vibe around the program right now, coming off of last week's big win?
You know, it was an exciting experience to see those kids have some success last week. They showed up today ready to go. We had an early morning Labor Day practice, and I was telling the kids this is my 35th Labor Day practice in a row, and it was the best turnout we've had at practice since I've been there. So it's going well.
Sam Houston knocks off Irving Nimitz 24-3 in the season opener on Thursday night. It snaps 26-game losing streak for the Texans. And I want to ask you, kind of going into that game and even just going into this season, what has felt different? What has felt like there may be a corner being turned there at Sam Houston that led you guys to this 1-0 start?
Well, you can see the culture that we've been building coming to fruition with our younger kids. They're now getting older, and they're showing up. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're learning football. They're taking it and working on it by themselves. They're teaching and coaching each other in practice. Everything that you see good programs do, you start to see our kids are doing the same things now.
Talking with Chris James, the head coach of the Sam Houston Texans here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation and hashtag TF Today. Coach, there's a lot to break down here, but I want to start with your defense. Defense really came to play in this one. I know you had told us in the offseason that you were really excited about what the possibility of what your defense could do. What did you see from them on Thursday night against Nimitz?
And I saw them get lined up, communicate, and fly to the football. They're doing an outstanding job. We got a senior linebacker in Noel Lopez, who's just our leader on defense, and we trust him to get us lined up, get us in the right calls, and he did an outstanding job along with the rest of the defense the other night.
Offensively, a couple guys I want to make sure we mention. Kind of the bell cow of your offense was Jalen Harper. He goes for 132 yards and a touchdown on the ground. But you also had great balance, too. Ken Jones threw for 3 touchdowns as well. Offensively, I know you're an offensive guy, promoted from offensive coordinator a couple of years ago. Offensively, was this what you were hoping to see from your unit in week one?
No, we need more points. No, I did. They did an outstanding job. I mean, Nimitz did a really good job of holding on to the football. So I think we only ran 47 offensive plays, and to, squeeze 4 touchdowns out of that, I thought was pretty proficient for us.
I do want to ask you about another small thing that I noticed, because I was at a game on Thursday night, and then I watched a bunch of games on Friday. And in week one, you see a lot of miscues, you see a lot of mistakes and stuff like that. I'm seeing 3 penalties for 21 yards in a week one performance. Obviously, you'd prefer that be 0, but that has to feel pretty good that your guys went out there and played a relatively clean brand of football.
that's one of the first things I told our staff when the game was over. I said, guys, we played a clean football game. With having 3 penalties, and the 3 penalties that we had, they were all personal fouls, but they were questionable personal fouls. They were effort plays. We didn't have a holding. We didn't have a procedure penalty. We had nothing. I thought it was one of the cleanest games we've ever been a part of, and that speaks to how our coaching staff is coaching our kids.
Talking to Chris James, head coach of the Arlington Sam Houston Texans on Texas Football Today. Coach, we mentioned this is your 3rd year there as the head coach. You were the offensive coordinator for Coach Anthony Chris, who's of course a longtime friend of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. There, I'm curious. You're a guy who's had head coaching experience before that. What did you take from working with Coach Chris that you're applying to the job now?
One of the biggest things I learned from Coach Chris was just being flexible. Being able to adjust on the fly, make changes that need to be changed when they had to be changed. So, that's one of the biggest things I got from him.
And then I want to ask you, of course, 1-0 is good, but 2-0 is even better. On Friday, you guys are going to take on Burleson Centennial Friday night. Another battle of 1-0 teams there. I don't want to ask you. I know you're already hard at work. I don't want to ask you to give away your game plan. But when you take a look at what you're going to be up against the Spartans on Friday night, I'm curious what you see.
I think Kyle Geller is one of the best coaches in Tarrant County, but being down in Burleson, you don't see him a whole lot. And I've had experience when I was head coach at Crowley playing against them 8 times, so I'm very familiar with them. We're coaching our kids up to become very familiar. They're a perennial playoff team in Class 5A. They do an outstanding job, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
He's Chris James. He's the head coach of the 1-0 Sam Houston Texans. Coach, we sure appreciate it. Congratulations again on the big win. And I know that this was probably the most fun Labor Day practice you've had in quite a while, right?
Yeah, it was great. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. There he goes. Chris James, head coach of the Sam Houston Texans, joins us here at Texas Football Today. Very cool for them to snap that losing streak there against Nimitz, and at a losing streak, when you stack up back-to-back 0-10 seasons, that's when it gets hard, and that's when that ditch gets harder to dig out of.
Yep.
To go out there, and I think again, this is now me just playing armchair football therapist here. Hi. I think if you've got a long losing streak, week 1's your best opportunity to snap it.
Absolutely, because say you go into week 11 and you finally get that, that's great, and it might carry on some momentum into the summer, but it's only going to carry on momentum with certain individuals. Doing it in week 1 is the easiest way to get everybody to buy in.
I think you're exactly right, and that is, you saw it this week as well. Caldwell snapped their long losing streak. Congratulations to Coach Sean Witherwax and company. They edged out Crockett to get to snap, I believe, a 28-game losing streak. I think that your best shot is week 1. That doesn't mean you can't snap it in week 4, week 5, whatever. But I just think coming out of the gates, an opportunity to prove that things are different. You get the whole offseason to game plan for that game. And so I think that Sam Houston, what they were able to do in week 1 was really remarkable and worth celebrating. And we're thrilled to have Coach Chris James join us here on the show. We appreciate his time after, what do you say, his 30-something consecutive Labor Day practice.
32nd, I think.
Because we're not the only ones working, folks.
No.
All those football players are out there, and football coaches are out there working as well. We appreciate his time. We're at Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football. No, we're not. We're here twice a week. TexasFootball.com, talking football on the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Hey, I want to invite you to go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. You get the 2 magazines, including our legendary summer edition, mailed to you. But more importantly, not more importantly, as importantly, I would say more relevantly right now, you get access to Dave Campbell's Texan Live.
Let's go.
That's right. Hundreds and hundreds of Texas high school football games live on your device. How many do we have this past week?
67.
67!
And that's just football games. We have a bunch of volleyball games as well.
So 67 football games. Forget the greatness of the volleyball. Forget about when basketball season rolls around and you guys are running around like chickens with your head cut off. Forget all of that. Forget the baseball. Forget the softball. If you just want to focus on the football, 67 live high school football games on your device.
In week 1.
In week 1. That's what you missed last week. Don't miss week 2.
No.
Go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe to become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. Makes a great gift as well. Get it for the union member in your life. Go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe. It's Labor Day. Get it? Mm-hmm. All right, Pickle. It's now time for, my buddy's here.
Your buddy?
Yeah.
I can't see.
My buddy River's here.
Oh, let's go.
I'm willing to stop down the show for River.
Absolutely.
All right, Pickle. It is now time to unveil the Week 2 Dave Campbell's Texas High School Football State Rankings. Dave Campbell's Texas Football is the official rankings provider of the Associated Press since 2019. We're very proud of that. This is something that we are the official Texas High School Football rankings of record. When you see number 1 DeSoto, spoiler alert, DeSoto's number 1 in 6A. When you see number 1 DeSoto, they're referring to these rankings. These are the official Texas High School Football rankings compiled by the Dave Campbell's Texas Football staff. Before we get into this, I want to issue a positioning statement.
Okay.
It's Week 2, okay? And in Week 1, we just talked about it on Monday Morning Fallout, we establish a certain level of understanding of what data we're getting. And so if you're coming into this expecting wild swings in the rankings, I have some news for you.
It's not going to happen.
We want to make sure that we are careful about this. We want to make sure that we are understanding that there's a lot more football to play. Mm-hmm. And so perhaps we underreact in the rankings.
Right.
I just want to issue that.
It's a lot better than if a team loses, dropping them from number 2 out of the ranking.
Exactly.
And then having to put them right back in it the next week because they got their act together.
The other thing to consider here, and this is really important, especially in non-district play, you have games between classifications. Mm-hmm. You have a wildly disparate opponent difficulty for some of them. Yeah. There are some teams that are punching way up and teams that are punching down, right? You have to consider that as well as the teams that they were playing and how good we think those teams are. Okay? So, I can't tell you to save your tweets because I know you're going to send them anyway. Let's roll out the Week 2 Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press Texas High School Football Rankings. In Class 6A, the top 15 actually entirely unchanged. Nothing to change here as we in the top 15. DeSoto, Duncanville, and Galena Park North Shore are still your top 3 teams. When you get to 15, things where things get funky. Number 16. Klein Collins drops out of the rankings, as does number 19 Alvin Shadow Creek and number 23 Houston Lamar. Allen edges up, the Woodlands edges up to number 16, etc. Fulshire, big leap from number 25 to number 20 after a really impressive win over Pearland. New to the rankings, at number 21 the Denton Guyer Wildcats, who knock off Aledo 35-30. New to the rankings, number 22 Cedar Hill, who are in after drubbing Midlothian, and number 23 new to the rankings, the San Antonio Reagan Rattlers, who knock off San Antonio Brennan in an impressive fashion. Dickinson hangs on to a spot in the rankings. They lost a heartbreaker to Katy. They dropped from number 20 to 24. And Prosper loses to Austin Westlake. They drop from number 15, but hang on to a spot in the rankings at number 25. There it is, your 6A Texas High School Football Rankings. To 5A we go, Pickle. 5A, a new number 1 in 5A Division 1. The Denton Ryan Raiders, with an impressive win over Hazlitt Eaton, punching up to 6A. They assume the number 1 spot. Highland Park up to number 2. Denton Guyer, or Aledo rather, drops from number 1 to number 3. We didn't bury them. They punched up a classification to a now ranked 6A team and played it close. We do knock them from the number 1 spot, but in the end, we drop them from number 1 to number 3. The rest of it entirely unchanged. College Station, Smithson Valley, Frisco Lone Star, Richland, Abilene, A&M Consolidated, and Port Arthur Memorial round out the top 10 in 5A Division 1. To 5A Division 2 we go, where the top 2 remain unchanged. Port Neches Groves at number 1. We keep South Oak Cliff at number 2. The biggest reason why is that they went on the road to a top 3 team in Class 6A, and so I don't think you can really glean anything from that. To me, there's just not a whole lot of data to draw from it, And so they remain the same at number 2. Argyle drops from number 3 to number 5 with their close loss to Frisco Lone Star. Alamo Heights there at moves up to number 3. Texas High moves up to number 4. 2 teams drop out. Liberty Hill, losing to Cibolo Steel, drop out of the ranking from number 8, and Melissa drops out at number 9. New to the rankings, the Lubbock Cooper Pirates are the number 9 team in 5A Division 2, and number 10 Corpus Christi Miller. Did you see what they did to Corpus Christi Vets? They were really impressive. They are the new number 10 team in 5A Division 2. To 4A we go. 4A Division 1 is largely chalky. Stephenville, Tyler Chapel Hill, Panther Creek, Salina, and Kilgore, your top 5 remaining unchanged. Impressive wins for all of them. Brownwood did not play. That game against Abilene Wiley was canceled. They remained there at number 7. Decatur dropped out of the rankings, and new to the rankings, at number 10, the Greenbirds, the Lake Dallas Falcons, are the number 10 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football after drilling Denton. 4A Division 2, we keep Carthage at number 1 in 4A Division 2. Again, taking on a top 5 team in a division higher than them and playing that within a score we think is good enough to keep them at number 1. Belleville drops from number 3 to number 4. Gilmer, with their kind of shocking loss to Longview Pine Tree, we drop them from number 2 to number 5. Still think they're a top 5 team as well. Glen Rose assumes the number 2 spot there after moving up from number 4, and Wimberley up 2 spots to number 3. The rest of it unchanged. Brock, Pleasant Grove, Waco, La Vega, Graham, and Sinton, all winners and all remained in the top 10. To 3A Division 1 we go, where there's a little bit of chaos here. The top 3 are unchanged. Malakoff, Columbus, and Franklin. Columbus was awfully impressive against Cuero. We admit that. But Malakoff did go and rattle off West Rusk 49-0. If we want to move to 3A Pickle, they did go and drill West Rusk. So I don't think there's necessarily a mean for change. Top 3 feel pretty good about Malakoff, Columbus, and Franklin. Your mileage may vary. We dropped Hitchcock, who loses to Houston Legacy School of Sports and Sciences. Dropped them from number 4 to number 7. Edna moves up a spot after a thrilling overtime win over Vanderbilt Industrial. Bushland up a spot to number 5. 2 new teams as Goliad and Sweetwater crash out of the rankings. At number 8, the Shallowater Mustangs are into the top 10 with a win over Monahans. And at number 9, the Pottsboro Cardinals are into the top 10 at number 9 with a win over Bells. Grandview lost to Glen Rose. That is punching up and now the number 2 team in 4A Division 2. We keep them in the top 10, but they drop from number 8 to number 10. 3A Division 2, a little bit of change here. Dangerfield's loss to Gladewater drops them a spot to number 3. And then Newton's loss to West Orange Stark, which was relatively emphatic, drops them from number 3 to number 5. The new number 2 team, the Canadian Wildcats, who were not all that comfortable against Elk City, Oklahoma, but good enough to move them up to number 2. Poth up to number 4. And the final 5 unchanged. Jacksboro, Lexington, Holiday, Wall, and Tidehaven round out the top 10 in 3A Division 2. To 2A we go. 2A Division 1, largely chalky. In fact, the big change here, we bump Stanford into the top 5 from number 6 to number 5. Garrison won a thriller over Wascom 21-20, but Stanford's emphatic win over Albany 50-6, good enough for us to bump them into the top 5. Hawley and Sunray moves up from number 10 to number 8 with their win over Hooker, Oklahoma. New to the rankings, the Beckville Bearcats are now into the top 10 with a win over St. Augustine. Mason loses to Wall, again punching up a classification. We drop them from number 10 to number 9, or from number 9 to number 10, and the Cooper Bulldogs crash out of the rankings, out from the number 8 spot. 2A Division 2. Okay. There was complete chaos in 2A Division 2. Albany loses, Shiner loses, Mart loses, Fall City loses. But they all punched up a classification, and with the exception really of a couple of them, Mart lost to Whitney 42-8, but Whitney's a 3A D1 school. Punched way up. Albany punched up, and they got beat pretty badly, but they lost to a team that's now in the top 5 in 3A Division 2, or 2A Division 1 rather. Shiner punched up and lost by a touchdown to Hallettsville, who's a 3A team, right? So in the end, what we ended up doing is more or less just keeping it chalky and saying, all right, Everyone got 1 week under their belt. Let's wait for some more data. Stratford remains the number 1 team. We feel very good about that at 46 with 46-20 win over Abernathy. But they're nowhere. We can't move them up move up in the rankings. So we keep them largely the same, the top 10 in 2A Division 2. In 1A, in the 6-man ranks, Abbott's big win over Oglesby. We thought about moving them up to number 1 over Gordon, but Gordon did nothing against Marfa to show any weakness. We keep them top 2 the same in Gordon and Abbott. Westbrook loses to Jayton. We drop them from number 3 to number 5. Jonesboro and Whiteface move up a spot in their stead. And the bottom 5 unchanged in 1A Division 1. Happy, May, Knox City, Newcastle, and Buena Vista. 1A Division 2, we have a new number 1 team in 1A Division 2. The Jayton Jabers, the new number 1 team in 1A Division 2. An impressive win over Westbrook last week. Good enough to vault them up to number 1. Wilson Springs remains the same at number 2. Oglesby's, their loss to Abbott drops them to number 3 in the rankings. Klondike loses to Knox City. It was chaos in the bottom, the exception of Cherokee, who was a winner over Highland. It was chaos in the bottom of the rankings, and as a result, we kind of did the same thing because all these teams are punching up. Iredell lost to Newcastle. Sydney lost to May. Whitehare lost to Spring Lake Earth. Follett lost to Whiteface. Right? All these teams are not only D1 teams, but a lot of them are good D1 teams. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to basically say, all right, everybody gets a do-over, especially because if you drop down to teams we have kind of de facto ranked in 11 through 15, a lot of those teams lost as well, and I don't think any of them got a win that necessitated them jumping into the rankings. So a lot of the same there, with the exception of a new number 1 at 1A Division 2. In the private school ranks, a lot of change here. Chaos. Dallas Parish Episcopal crashes out of the rankings from number 2. Dallas Christian crashes out of the rankings from number 4. And Houston Kincaid crashes out of the rankings from number 5. Argyle Liberty Christian remains the number 1 team. San Antonio Holy Cross moves up to number 2. And we have 3 newcomers. Dallas First Baptist moves into the rankings with a win over Buckeye Union out of Arizona. Bel Air Episcopal moves into number 4 with a big shutout win over Houston Waltrip. And Fort Worth All Saints, the team that dethroned Dallas Parish Episcopal, they move into the number 5 spot in the private school 11-man rankings. And in the private school 6-man rankings, a little bit of chaos here as well. The top 2 are unchanged. Houston Emory Weiner at number 1, Pasadena First Baptist at number 2. East Texas Homeschool is actually idle in week 1, but they move up a spot, as does Decatur Victory Christian. Prestonwood North crashes out of the rankings from number 3, and in their stead, the new number 5 team, Fredericksburg Heritage, moves into the rankings with a win over San Marcos Hill Country. So there it is, your week 2 Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press Texas High School Football Rankings. You can find these rankings now at texasfootball.com/rankings, and we will, of course, reveal them live every Monday here on Texas Football Today. Any thoughts?
No, I think that...
A lot of chaos.
Yeah, a lot of chaos, but that was good, and that's what we expect to happen at this time of year. I think that's just more proof of what we keep preaching of, like, don't overreact to week 1.
I don't want to overreact to anything.
The worst thing you can do.
I don't want to go too crazy on any rankings, any rankings things here. And so as a result, like, we want to read it and we want to make sure we understand the context as much as we can.
Yeah. Like Alito is the best case scenario of that.
Yes.
They were number 1, they took a loss, but it was to a really good 6A team that is ranked, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, now ranked.
We can't keep you at 1. We're not going to keep you at 1.
We're going to bump you down, but we're going to keep you at number 3.
Exactly.
Where basically they're like a win away from maybe regaining that number 1 spot.
Absolutely.
So anyway, there it is, your week 2 Texas High School football rankings. We're Texas Football Today. We're here twice a week on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbells. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbells, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Get your questions in for Mailbag Friday on Monday, coming up here during Final Thoughts. But now, Pickle, it's time to roll out the Week 1 Dave Campbell's Texan Live Top 10 Plays of the Week. We have been combing the internet, looking for the biggest and best plays across the state of Texas. And our own Trevor? Yep. Did Trevor do this? Trevor Bullard put together his top 10. Don't blame me if it's not the top 10 you would have done. Blame Trevor Bullard. Here is the Dave Campbell's Texan Live Top 10 Plays of the Week.
What they say.
Thomas looking to pass, has a man, end zone, touchdown! Bulldogs on the reception. Benny Easter, the sophomore wide receiver.
stark contrast to what a lot of people expected. 18 returning stars between both of these teams. The handoff is to Williams, who gives it now to Taylor. Back to Schultz, all alone, caught inside the 10. How about that for fireworks? Touchdown Mavericks. Kenyon Bauer.
Zero, Jonah Williams on the kickoff. We'll take an end zone touch.
So it's Carday Mack, the junior, starting at quarterback on this drive for Atascocita. 4 wide receivers on the field for the Eagles, and it's a design run here for Mack on the first play of the game. Carday Mack breaks a tackle, and off he goes. Who needs to wait? Carday, one man, he's got a convoy, and he'll score on the opening play of the season. Touchdown Atascocita.
The throw, Tierheimer's coming out of his back, out of his end zone. He's got a man out there. This is BC Bello down the sideline. Does he have enough jets to get there? He does! 97 yards for Tompkins Falcons. Touchdown Falcons!
Quickly to the 47-yard line. 1st and 10, handoff Kelly. Breaks free, breaks the first tackle. Now the second tackle, he's off to the races, up the middle. Nobody's going to catch him. 10, score. Klein answers back, and they're back up.
Shorter in motion, hands the ball off to Grayson Rigdon, who finds a hole, slips past the umpire, and breaks the tackle, going to the house. Rigdon, I think he's done it again. 2nd touchdown of the game for Grayson Rigdon. And the Cardinals right away answer in this position with 3 minutes to go. Peterson drops back. Here comes the pressure. Good right side. Jahil makes the catch, and he spins away from the tackler to the 30, 20, 10, and he will hit pay dirt. Touchdown, 40 Jackrabbits.
Oh, just when you think they have controlled Peters.
John Nelson told us he's really never been a 2-quarterback guy. This is not a quarterback-driven team. On the pitch out, that should be a pass. Oh, and Mason bounces off 2 Tigers, and up the sideline he strides. He has a chance to go, needs a block, gets a block. Mason, touchdown.
Third down and 8. Rosario steps up, throws, corner. Whoa, what a catch! Touchdown, Klein Oak and Johnny Craven.
There it is, your Dave Campbell's Texan Live Top 10 Plays of the Week. If you've got a play that you want to be featured on the Dave Campbell's Texan Live Top 10 Plays of the Week, tweet to us at DCTF. Probably need to get it in by Sunday. That's kind of when we're starting to gather these things. But make sure you tweet us your photos, or your videos of the biggest plays of the week. You know, it's a Monday show, and so this is usually where we'll close things out. We wrap things up with Dave Campbell's Texan Live Top 10 Plays of the Week. Just nothing else to do today, Pickle, right?
Something major to do.
I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. This is This Week in Cruton. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, our director of recruiting here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScouts. He has fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express, if it's football season, it's Chicken Express.
Yeah, those two things are synonymous. Chicken Express and football season, they go hand in hand.
It feels good. It feels right. You know what I mean? It feels right. How was your week 1?
Great.
Yeah.
3 games in this weekend.
Oh my gosh,
got to do the call of the Lancaster North Crowley game on Texan Live with Matt Stepp and James Tritley, and our dude Sam Moore was on the camera. That was a whole lot of fun. That game was a banger.
It was. It's a really good game. fantastic. I feel that's one of those games, and I'm curious to get your take. That's one of those games where I feel pretty good about both of those teams coming out of it. Like, I think both are going to be like, that's a nice little result for us.
Tremendous showing by the Tigers from Lancaster. Coach Paul's team was ready to go. I'm really impressed by. I don't want to say that they've orchestrated a turnaround there, but I want to say the deck was stacked against them a little bit. They took over there at a program that didn't have a lot of depth, right? And then they got bumped up to 6A. So there were questions like heading into that game, can the Tigers compete at this level? And the answer to that question was a resounding yes. And the North Crowley offense, it took a little bit of time to get out of the gates. They got out of the gates slow, but they were starting to hit on all cylinders towards the end of that game, heading into a big Week 2 matchup against DeSoto. So I'm excited to see how the Panthers do in Week 2. Of course, able to fend off the Tigers in Week 1. There was a huge play in that game. There was an interception that bounced off of a player's foot, and it was returned for a pick six, but they said it hit the ground when it didn't. The replay would show it didn't. Texas high school football doesn't have replay, but
that was an awesome play. I saw it.
It could have tilted the tide in the favor of Lancaster there, and they could have won that game.
Yeah, for sure. But it was a great performance, I think, from both those teams in Week 1, and it was a great week for a lot of programs across the state of Texas, and a lot of prospects. That's what we're here to talk about. It's This Week in Recruiting. We're going to start with our prospect on the rise. Our prospect on the rise, we're going to Lubbock Cooper to talk about their 2025 senior wide receiver, Michael Deaver, who was absolutely electric in their season opening win over Lovejoy. The newest DCTF 3-star, 8 catches, 149 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including a 93-year-old yard kickoff return for a touchdown. I got to watch a fair amount of Michael Deaver, and this kid is the real stinking deal as the Texas Tech commit.
149 yards and 2 touchdowns in game 1. That was 1/4 of his production from 1 year ago. So I'd have to say that Deaver is out of the gates extremely strong this season. Huge win for them in game 1. Huge win for them in game 1.
Yeah, I was very impressed. One of the things that I like about him, I think his frame is big enough to make those to like go up and high point a ball. But I also thought like he was very crisp in his routes, and I don't know, he looks like the complete package at wide receiver in Week 1 for an offense that I think has an opportunity to really make some noise out there on the South Plains.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He also picked up an offer from Vanderbilt this week. I think it was his first SEC offer, bringing his offer tally up to 9. He's committed to Texas Tech. I think something that's important to note when thinking about or talking about his recruitment is Texas Tech had another wide receiver committed that decommitted and flipped to SMU, and they were like, oh no, we've lost a wide receiver commit to SMU. Well, guess what? They had a Michael Deaver in the bag.
Yes.
In Lubbock. They were like, oh, well, we just happen to have a scholarship available now. How about, why don't you take it? And he did. And that was a huge get for them because he was one of those prospects who's truly on the rise. It wouldn't be surprised to see his ranking end up culminating with a Hot 100 selection at the end of the day.
Joey McGuire shopping local with Lubbock Cooper wide receiver Michael Deaver. Let's roll on to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week is Belleville defensive lineman DJ Sanders. Now, Belleville defensive lineman DJ Sanders did not commit last week because there were believe it or not, no FBS commitments in the state of Texas. That's not necessarily uncommon for Week 1. A lot of guys like to clear the decks for Week 1 of the Texas high school football season. But a couple of weeks ago, there were a ton of commitments, and one of them that we didn't get to spotlight as the commit of the week was DJ Sanders committing to Texas A&M over offers like Texas and Michigan. I will just tell you, DJ Sanders has been a big favorite here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football for about a year now, and this guy is a freakish playmaker that I think A&M fans are going to learn to love.
The monster from Belleville. I just can't get that out of when I think about DJ Sanders, that's like the tagline that pops into my head now every single time. 6'4", 290 pounds. He plays a lot of defensive end for them and can get pressure on the quarterback, can wreak havoc behind the line of scrimmage. I think he'll be a defensive tackle at the next level. When we say defensive tackle, Coach Bateman there at Texas A&M does a tremendous job of disguising his rushers, you know, disguising what the defense is going to do. He moves those defensive linemen around to help keep that disguise intact, right? And DJ Sanders is versatile enough where I think that he can move around that front and create havoc and create question marks for, you know, the quarterback trying to read the defense, trying to figure out what they're going to do. It's hard to figure out with a guy like DJ Sanders, who's extremely versatile up front. Had a couple of the more memorable plays in Texas high school football last season as he led Belleville to the state championship stage at AT&T Stadium. One of them, a strip and score on a fumble recovery. I believe that was in the state semifinal game or the quarterfinals, where he just showed his domination, and you probably saw the highlight clip of that while everyone was talking. I think it's his first highlight clip on his reel. I thought he was going to go to Texas.
Yeah.
I think everybody thought he was going to go to Texas. Like, I mean, I run in the recruiting circles, Tep, as you know.
I do. I met your friends.
All the recruiting homies had this story queued up that he's going to hook them, right? And they're like, oh, well, he's going to announce his decision at, you know, their practice on midnight Wednesday or Thursday. Tuesday, Texas A&M, surprise commitment, 10 p.m., not midnight.
Yeah.
And DJ Sanders is on the Aggies commitment list. Mike Elko's done a tremendous job in this class, especially as it relates to recruiting Lone Star State talent. I think that the Texas high school football coaches believe that the turnaround is going to be real in College Station, and I think they're starting to build up a lot of trust with Mike Elko and his staff, because they're not only getting good Texas high school football talent in this class, they're getting high character guys too, and I think that's important. DJ Sanders has a high character.
He is he's a monster out there. Number 99, you know where he is on every single play. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, our director of recruiting here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TF Today. Let's round it all out with our underclassmen of the week. Our underclassmen of the week, going to the private school ranks, to Argyle Liberty Christian, to talk about their sophomore athlete, Cooper Witten. Cooper Witten is his name, and he took an unofficial visit to College Station. Took had an offer from Texas A&M this week. He's already got offers from Baylor, Missouri, Oklahoma, and for some reason Tennessee has offered Cooper Witten at Argyle Liberty Christian, Gregory.
The son of Jason Witten. And that's why that name.
The name.
That's the name. That's why.
Interesting.
He's the head coach at Argyle Liberty Christian. As a matter of fact, it was a pretty big week for the Witten family, because his brother, who's a class of 2025 linebacker recruit, made his verbal commitment to Rice, CJ Witten. So he went ahead and made his decision. Yeah, he's a really good get for Rice. DCTF 3-star outside linebacker in the class of 2025. And then Cooper Witten also had himself a week. 6'2", 210-pounder. I'm calling him an athlete for now, because I don't necessarily know exactly what position fits him best at the next level. Obviously, there's tight end in his blood, right? He probably wants the football in his hands, but he's made the most transcendent plays on the defensive side of the ball, and you're watching his week 1 highlight reel here. This is just 1 week's worth of highlights where he made multiple big plays on both sides of the ball. No surprise that offers are starting to roll in. I think 24/7 Sports has already nominated him or selected him as one of their top players in the state with 4-star honors already. And A&M's a big offer, right?
Oh, yeah.
A&M's a big offer. He took a visit down there, but Tennessee, if y'all didn't know,
looming.
If y'all didn't know, Jason Witten's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
In Knoxville.
Yeah, to say he's a legacy is probably a little bit of an understatement for Jason Witten at Tennessee.
Cool story, I think, there too. Just looking back through, Witten wasn't a highly touted recruit when he went to Tennessee. So Cooper's going to be much more highly rated than him. And it'll be interesting to see the pathway forward now that, Cooper's getting all these offers. He's already rated as a 4-star. And, his dad has that grind mentality, because when you're underrated, you got to grind for it, right?
Yeah,
you got to grind for it. But I get the sense, talking with both Witten sons earlier this spring, they got the same mentality. Yeah. Cooper Witten is a no-nonsense football dude, and his brother CJ, is no different.
They just happen,
they follow the mold of their father. Yeah. They are football playing dudes,
and they just happen to not be underrated. You know what I mean? Like they just happen to be like properly rated. So yeah. And anyway, that is something to keep an eye on there at Argyle Liberty Christian, the #1 private school team in the corner of the Dave Campbell's Texas football rankings. He's Greg Powers, our director of recruiting here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. But stick around because the show's about to end.
Okay.
So might as well just.
You want me to help you bring it home?
That's right. Please do, because we've also going to move over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts with a dash of Mailbag Monday.
Mailbag Monday. Let's start off with which first-year varsity program impressed you the most?
Let's see. I'm trying to think through the first-year varsity programs.
Walnut Grove, is that one? Or were
Eagle Mountain lost their opener. Walnut Grove, I think they lost their opener as well. You know what? I know the answer.
Is it your 6-man school?
It's Knippa, the Rock Crushers.
Yeah, there you go.
The Rock Crushers are bringing their football program back, and they got a season opening win to start the year. Did the Knippa Rock Crushers? So
elite mascot.
That is the first year varsity program that impressed me the most. I don't know. Did Lubbock Cooper Liberty win? I did not see that.
What about Pawnee?
Oh, I don't know if Pawnee won.
Do we count? I guess we count Wichita Falls Memorial.
Wichita Falls Memorial is probably the answer, honestly, if you're asking. Like, Wichita Falls Memorial is probably the team that impressed me the most. Pawnee lost to Runge in the opener, but it's okay. Pawnee's on the way back. Yeah, I would say as far as first-year varsity programs are concerned, those are the ones that immediately spring to mind. Wichita Falls Memorial is one of those teams that impressed me as well. They were looking pretty good. What's next?
When we see teams traveling long distances, such as Austin to Dallas or even further, how much of an effect does it have on teams, and what do teams do to prevent affecting performance on the field?
It's a terrific question. I would say it has a much bigger effect than you think. And I'm always wary of if you drive more than about an hour to a game. That to me...
No. Let Small Town Pickle chime in here. If you're going over 3 hours, that's when it starts to affect you. Because when I was in Atlanta, we were doing district games on Tuesday nights that were 2.5 hours away. So your Coppell is showing. 3 hours, yes.
6A and 5A, over an hour. Because usually your district play is going to be within an hour. Obviously, there are exceptions, West Texas. Small schools, they're a lot more used to it. So, like, for example, I look at a team like South Oak Cliff traveling to Galena Park North Shore. That's a long trip, right? That's a long trip. It's going to affect them. They also do not make a ton of long trips. I think a lot of it comes back to what your normal is, right? For example, Midland Legacy and Midland are in the Little Southwest Conference. They're going to travel a long way. Them traveling a long way is not necessarily as big of a deal as it would be for like South Lake Carroll. If South Lake Carroll were to travel to Houston, right? So the way that you prevent it, I mean, honestly, part of the reason that these teams do it is to get prepared for the playoffs. Is you just kind of have to do it and simulate it as best you can when there's less on the line. One of the things, actually, if you go back, and this is years and years ago, one of the considerations on North Shore was that they never left the Houston area, right? Until the state championship games. Does that have an effect on them? Obviously, things went pretty well for them in Arlington most of the time, but that was a big question for them because they didn't leave the Houston area. I think a lot of it ultimately comes down to what you're used to. And for some of these programs, traveling 2 hours is not that big of a deal. For other programs, traveling 2 hours is the longest they've traveled by a factor of 4. And so I think, I know, for example, South Oak Cliff left at 9 a.m. on Friday morning and stuff like that to get down there early. Right.
Set up.
A lot of it falls on the coaches to make sure that they make that schedule as normal as possible for them. So, Pickle, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, week. You don't know tough times until you're traveling to
hard times.
Taylor and Salado on a Tuesday night and don't get back until 1 a.m. and then practice starts again at 6.
Did you guys win?
Depended on the year.
Okay.
All right, last one. Can y'all talk about Stanford versus Albany?
Yeah.
That was a game.
I was really impressed by Stanford. We bumped them ahead of a team that won in the 281 rankings because of it. I thought if you were to rank the teams that impressed me most in week 1, Columbus is on that list, and Stanford is on that list. To go and to throttle a 2-time defending state champion. I know we have questions about Albany, what they're going to look like without Adam Hill, without that fantastic class. I think what Stanford did to Albany is more about Stanford than it has been about Albany. And Bryce Braden, one of my very favorite players. He was everywhere. I mean, he's a 240-pound quarterback at 2A. Like, that's unfair.
I believe he's committed to Air Force, right?
That sounds right. Yeah, he's a dude. He's a moose.
So is there? I mean, I guess that's potential that him and Grayson Rigdon could play together next year.
Yeah, they both go to Air Force. That's right. But
funny.
he is a dude. And Stanford looked the part of a team ready for prime time. Again, it's one of those things where I want to make sure that I'm giving Stanford their praise while also mentioning that, like, I think Albany, that build is going to be slower than we thought, just because they have so many important pieces to replace. But yeah, I would say that I was wildly impressed by Stanford. Don't throw dirt on Albany. They have Denny Faith. They will be fine. But I thought Stanford was awfully impressive.
Fact check, Bryce Braden is committed to Air Force, and he was the cover photo for the 4th of July story article that we had.
Is there a let me ask you a question. Is there a team that impressed you most in week 1?
You know, that's hard for me because I'm wrapped up in
recruiting.
Well, it's not just recruiting, just wrapped up in the games that I'm attending. But I picked Deaver this week because I think the Lubbock Cooper win over Lovejoy was one of the biggest wins in the state. And they had a top prospect who's going to play at an in-state P4 college shine in that game, and that's why we selected him. So the Lubbock Cooper game really grabbed my attention this week. I thought that was a huge win, kind of saying, hey, we're here to compete this season. We can win a state championship. And then, I mean, I know it's not like a small team, but what Austin Westlake did to Prosper was pretty impressive. Like, Westlake's firmly on my don't sleep. This is a sleeping giant. I know that we've picked them like in the top 5.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it's hard to say, oh, well, Austin Westlake is a sleeper. They're in the top 5. But what they did to Prosper was impressive. And I know it's a step down in classification, but the Denton Geyer win over Alito.
Agreed. I thought Geyer, anytime Alito loses, anytime Carthage loses, anytime Gunner loses, anytime Katy loses, like, that's news. You know what I mean? It's news. The way that Geyer did that and the resilience that young team showed against a team like Alito was real.
And their schedule's brutal this year. Like, every win they get's an important win.
There's one more that we haven't talked about at all today. Cibolo Steele's win over Liberty Hill was shocking. We pulled it up in the last hour of our show, and it was, I mean, they were beating them like 40-something to 7 at that point. Liberty Hill ended up window dressing a little bit at the end, but 49-26, and most of that being window dressing was shocking.
Going into the fourth quarter, it was 49-14.
Yep.
I mean, they really put it on them. Steele,
they looked good.
Steele was really impressive.
Hatton had a big game. They've got those 2 receivers that are playing really well. I got the Steele Austin Westlake game penciled in. You know, when it's penciled in on the schedules, like, you're trying to get there, it's not in pen yet, but that's a game that I'm trying to make this year. I'd be really excited to go see that game.
I totally agree. Steele and Liberty Hill's a great shout. All right, I think that's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us, and by a little bit, I mean a long bit. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks to Arlington, Sam Houston, head coach Chris James, and to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Director of Recruiting, Greg Powers, for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please meet your Player of the Year trophy. We will see you Thursday on Texas Football Today.